We kind of shifted the white point to be a little bit more of like what a film-going audience might see in the theater in 1991.
Aspect ratio is probably one of the biggest things that you go back and forth about when you're thinking about a movie, because the way that you can compose anamorphically makes more sense in my brain than spherical, just the optics of the way that anamorphic works. It's just more comfortable for me to kind of figure things out. The large format gave me the ability to get the depth and the field of view that anamorphic will give you without the distortion, and we'd have all that resolution to work with. So I kept seeing like Walter's face, and I just kept seeing it in 1.8.5.
I really feel it in a lot of those close-ups. Like because of the VistaVision sensor, like you really feel that the camera is closer.
Yeah.
Like you actually, like in some of those scenes with, where Jamie's doing his thing, like we're really right there. You really feel like we're right.
Yeah, and interesting.
In the prison cell,
Yeah, it's interesting because I didn't even anticipate being that close to the actors. That look kind of became organic. It wasn't like an intentional thing to like, oh, let's just get real close to the actors. But it naturally happened. And once we did that, once we were kind of shooting and that was what was happening, I was like, oh yeah, 1.8.5 is actually the right aspect ratio, because otherwise it would have been a little bit different. It wouldn't have felt the same.
I know the location was modeled after the real location. So it's not like you could have moved windows around or done a whole lot of things, because you're trying to be accurate to the true story element to it.
We did a lot of cross-covering. It is a lot of people talking together, and I used the artistes every time we were cross-covering in close-ups and in dialogue. And if we were shooting anything one-off that didn't have to have real consistent matching, it was usually the H series. If I was shooting, into a window, or if I was shooting something that needed kind of a little bit of, extra, the H's were my choice. We probably shot 90% of the movie on the H's. It just rolls off really, really, really nicely.
It didn't seem like we really wanted to create like an artificial look to it. The story is much more about empathy than it is about a cinematic universe. It's very much about the people. It's based on real people, and so the emotional impact of those people and those characters seemed to be very important. So when I was developing the color, I didn't want to push colors too much. I didn't want to make anything pop too much. Basically, I pulled the kind of the magenta and the greens down a little bit more, so it had that more kind of like warm to cool, like filmy spectrum, and not so much like a popped full color separated look. When you have like sunlight lit grass, it can feel very electric and green and popped and springy. And so the way the story wanted to go, we wanted to mute that a little bit. So we pulled the greens down a little bit, and then just kind of wanted nice skin tone, like even skin tone, so that pulling the magenta back really helped there. With
the large format, with the lensing, and with the color, it felt like a comfortable approach to the movie that developed over time and was finally kind of there for me to take into the movie.